Sagittarius. After what happened last night with someone, they will do this for you. The stirring truth. Sagittarius, listen closely, because the winds that touched your name last night carried more than whispers. They carried an awakening. Someone somewhere had their pride shattered like glass under the weight of truth, and that breaking sound echoed straight into your destiny. This person, the one who once played it cool, who thought silence made them powerful, is now wide awake in a storm of realization. Their ego was pierced, not by cruelty, but by a reflection they could no longer deny. And in that mirror they saw you not as the one who chased, but as the one who was always light. Last night marked the moment the arrow of truth hit its mark. Today they feel its burn and its clarity all at once. They are preparing to come forward with words they never had the courage to say before, and this time, you will see it in their eyes before they even speak. If you were waiting for a sign, Sagittarius, it's no longer on the horizon. It's here, roaring through your energy field. You've carried yourself with such grace that the universe itself realigned to match your frequency. For too long they misunderstood your freedom for indifference, your laughter for detachment, your silence for absence. But your fire was never gone. It was simply refining itself, learning where to shine and where to withdraw. They now see that their control was a costume, their indifference a shield, and their avoidance a confession. Someone told them something last night, words that stripped away their illusions, exposing their emptiness where your warmth once lived. Their "I'm fine" crumbled, their false calm shattered. The truth hit them like lightning, and in that split second, they remembered everything about you that once felt like home. Sagittarius, take a breath. The energy around you is shifting fast, and you'll feel it like the pressure that rises before a storm. It's not chaos, it's alignment. You are being prepared for a moment of revelation. The person who once underestimated your depth now feels the weight of your absence like gravity itself. You don't need to run toward this, it's already finding you. You don't need to demand explanations. The universe is writing them in real time. You've grown too much to beg for what's already written in your stars. That's why this next chapter isn't about chasing. It's about receiving. The fire within you, the one that used to flicker with doubt, now burns steady and bright. Write this decree, Sagittarius, as a seal of your readiness. I, Sagittarius, open my path to the truth that honors me. Say it as if your breath were drawing constellations into form. Because when you declare your truth, the universe doesn't just listen. It rearranges. Feel that subtle hum beneath your skin? That's your reality shifting to match your worth. You no longer operate on the energy of waiting. You live in the energy of calling. And what is yours by soul, by promise, by divine law begins to move in your direction. Now imagine them this morning. Eyes heavy with the weight of last night's realization. They woke up haunted by echoes of your laughter, your advice, your ability to see through their walls. The mirror that cracked before them didn't just show who they are. It showed who you've become without them. And that vision shook them to the core. They are realizing that your silence wasn't punishment. It was prophecy. Every time you pulled back, you were creating space for truth to grow. Every moment you refused to argue, you were teaching them that peace has boundaries. Every time you walked away, you were walking toward your higher self. You've been tested in the most subtle ways. You felt invisible but stayed kind. You felt dismissed but never small. You learned to channel your fire inward, refining it into wisdom. That's the magic of Sagittarius, the alchemy of turning pain into purpose. You don't just survive heartbreak. You expand beyond it. That's why this return, this approach, this confession they bring isn't random. It's the consequence of your integrity. They may think it's about apology, but in truth, it's about balance. The scales of karma are catching up, and the universe is ensuring that what was once unfair finds its correction. Still be wise, my archer. Not every gesture deserves your arrow. You don't need to prove your strength. It's already visible in your restraint. When they arrive, let them speak, but let your silence measure the sincerity in their tone. Remember, your energy doesn't chase, it reveals. When you stand in your truth, falsehood burns itself out. So listen but stay centered. Look but stay sovereign. As you read these words, notice the goosebumps rising along your skin. That's your soul nodding in agreement. You already feel it, don't you? The energetic shift, the clarity returning. This is the prelude to something fated. The moment before a confession. the breath before an apology, the stillness before the flame bursts anew. And yet, Sagittarius, this story is not about them. It's about you finally seeing yourself through the eyes of destiny. You once mistook your openness for vulnerability, your honesty for weakness, but now you know your truth is your armor. You are the fire that both warms and warns. You are the lesson they had to learn the hard way. And last night the universe made sure they did. When they come forward, and they will, don't meet them from the same place where you once waited. Meet them from the summit of your new self, the one that no longer begs for closure because you became it. The next sunrise they see will remind them of you. Not because of nostalgia, but because you became the light they once dimmed. That's the irony of love, Sagittarius. Sometimes losing you is what teaches them what love truly was. They will try to approach with words that tremble between guilt and desire. You will feel their sincerity but also your sovereignty. And as they speak, your inner compass will guide you toward what resonates cleanly. Hold on to your fire, Archer. It is not anger, it is clarity. It burns away the fog that once confused you. The lesson has already begun, and soon you'll understand why the universe orchestrated this exact timing. Something is unfolding, and the first flicker of its flame has already reached your heart. Now breathe. Let the air move through you like wind through embers. The story that starts today will not repeat the past. It will test what you've learned. Stay awake, stay aligned, stay ready. Because the truth that was hidden is about to knock on your door. And remember, Sagittarius, your fire doesn't need permission to rise. Part 2. The Mirror of Awakening. Sagittarius, the mirror does not lie. It only reflects the courage or the cowardice of the one who looks into it. And last night, that mirror turned into fire for someone who thought they could escape its truth. They saw themselves, not the version they show the world, but the one they hide when the lights go out. For the first time, they realized that their armor wasn't strength. It was fear dressed in control. Their clever words and practiced confidence burned away in that reflection, and what remained was the raw awareness of how deeply they had lost something sacred. You. They replayed the way your eyes used to meet theirs without demand, how your laughter disarmed their arrogance, how your honesty made them nervous. Sagittarius, you didn't just love them. You revealed them. You stood in front of them like a mirror of truth, unafraid to show what was real. They thought they could outsmart that reflection, hide behind sarcasm or withdrawal, but mirrors don't argue. They simply show. And now they can no longer unsee the emptiness left when your energy withdrew. There's something poetic about it, isn't there? The very traits they once found too much, your intensity, your independence, your restless spirit, are now what they crave. Because your fire didn't destroy them. It illuminated their shadows. And now they are haunted by the glow of your absence. They can feel you even in silence because your energy is not the kind that fades. It lingers, it transforms spaces, it burns its signature into time itself. You might wonder why this realization took so long. The answer lies in the rhythm of divine timing. Fire teaches slowly when pride is thick. But when truth finally breaks through, it does so like lightning, one flash, and suddenly everything makes sense. They saw you in their mind's eye last night, not as a memory but as a compass. Every decision they made after losing you brought them back to that single question. What did I do with Sagittarius? Sagittarius, your path was never about waiting for anyone to awaken. It was about building your temple while others slept. You became your own guide, your own philosopher, your own healer. You learned how to turn solitude into revelation. The world mistook your silence for detachment. But in truth, you were studying yourself, refining your energy, preparing for the next ascent. That's the thing about your sign. When you go quiet, it's not retreat, it's preparation. When you disappear, it's not weakness, it's recalibration. And now, because of that stillness, your intuition is sharper than ever. You can feel people's intentions before they speak, sense the lies before they form, read the vibration behind the voice. That's your gift. It's why the universe trusted you with this revelation, not to punish but to clarify. The same person who once underestimated your depth now trembles before your discernment. They realize your kindness was never naivete. It was grace. You chose not to expose them because you were too evolved to fight battles beneath your frequency. Let's pause here, Sagittarius, and acknowledge something. You didn't just survive the silence, you mastered it. You filled it with meaning. You created rituals of power out of moments that could have broken you. lighting a candle to release the past, walking alone beneath the night sky, whispering affirmations into your breath. These were not random acts. They were sacred declarations of self-respect. You didn't even realize it, but each quiet act of healing became a spell that reprogrammed your destiny. Now, that energy is visible to the very person who once took you for granted. They see it in your eyes even from afar. That unbothered serenity, that fire that no longer flickers with insecurity. They sense you've crossed a threshold and that you're no longer reachable through the same emotional doors. That terrifies them because deep down they know they created this distance themselves. Last night, someone told them something they weren't ready to hear. Maybe it was a friend, maybe life itself, but the message struck their pride like an arrow. You hurt someone who only ever wanted your good. That sentence echoed inside them all night long. They laughed it off at first, pretending it didn't sting. But when they were finally alone, it hit like thunder. And they couldn't hide behind humor or arrogance anymore. They saw the pattern of their actions, the small betrayals disguised as indifference, the cold tone that masked fear. They finally understood that their so-called detachment wasn't strength. It was cowardice. And in that fragile moment when the mask fell, your energy returned to them like a vision. They remembered the way you never competed for attention, the way you believed in truth even when it hurt. They remembered your eyes not because they were beautiful but because they saw everything. You became their conscience. Sagittarius, this is where you must stay anchored in your truth. Because when people awaken after losing a light like yours, they often confuse guilt with love. They rush to make amends not out of clarity but out of fear. That's why your fire must remain steady, not soft enough to be consumed again, not harsh enough to burn what's still learning. Your job is not to fix them but to stay radiant. So when the message arrives, and it will, don't rush. Whether it's a text, a call, or a sudden visit, receive it like a queen holding court, not a wanderer seeking closure. You don't need to prove you've moved on. Your aura already says it. Let them speak. Let them tremble. Let their truth reveal itself in tone and pause. And as they talk, listen not with emotion but with intuition. Because your intuition will tell you everything before their words finish forming. Feel the energy in your chest right now, Sagittarius. That subtle tightening, that pull between curiosity and calm? That's your body sensing the echo of this connection. It's not anxiety. It's awareness. The universe is preparing you to witness the unfolding of something karmically precise. Not as a test you can fail, but as a mirror showing how far you've come. You once thought closure meant a conversation. But now you know closure is clarity. And clarity is already yours. The person who hurt you is not your enemy. They are your proof that your soul grows faster than most. That's why the universe placed you in their path. To awaken them, yes, but also to awaken yourself. And now, as this energy returns, the mirror stands between you once again. But this time it reflects two different beings. One still learning how to face truth, and one who became truth itself. When they see you next, they'll see what they lost. Not as punishment but as perspective. You will not need to say much. Your silence will speak the language of mastery. Your calm will be their confession. And in that moment, Sagittarius, you will realize something powerful. You never needed their apology to be free. You only needed your fire to remember its own warmth. This is the mirror's purpose, to reveal, to burn, to cleanse. And as dawn breaks on this realization, your story is no longer about who failed to see you. It's about how brilliantly you see yourself now. The horizon is glowing. The fire is steady. The mirror is clear. And soon the truth will step forward in human form. Trembling, humbled, but real. Part 3. The choice of return. Sagittarius, destiny always moves in spirals, and the one that began last night is now circling back toward you. The energy that once departed, carrying silence and pride in its wake, has found no peace in distance. They've tried to move on, to fill the void with noise, work, distractions, but your absence hums beneath every attempt at normalcy. It's not obsession, it's reckoning. And now the universe whispers the same truth to both of you. What was avoided must now be faced. This person has been battling with themselves all day. Their mind tells them to stay quiet, to maintain their image, but their heart keeps calling your name in a tone they can't mute. They are caught in a tug of war between guilt and longing, between what they lost and what they still believe can be rebuilt. For them, it feels like walking barefoot across the ashes of their own choices. Every step burns with the memory of how they once took you for granted. Yet, in the middle of that pain, a decision is forming, a decision to come forward, to speak, to risk vulnerability for the first time. But Sagittarius, before you let curiosity soften your guard, remember this. Not every return deserves re-entry. The cosmos will present this as a test, not of love but of discernment. You are the keeper of truth's flame, and truth for you has always been worth more than comfort. This is the moment where your wisdom must speak louder than your heart. You've spent months learning that solitude is not loneliness. You've discovered that peace is not the absence of love, but the presence of alignment. You've built a world where your joy doesn't depend on someone else's apology. That independence, that sacred sovereignty is what makes you magnetic now. They can sense it even from miles away. It's what's drawing them back. Not just your warmth but your wholeness. You became everything they feared and admired. Untamed, self-contained, glowing without their validation. So when they reach out, whether through trembling words or hesitant gestures, don't rush to interpret it as fate. Instead, breathe and listen to your intuition, for it will speak clearly beneath their sentences. Some confessions come dressed as truth but still carry the fragrance of ego. Others arrive naked, stripped of pride, born from a genuine awakening. Your role isn't to fix or forgive instantly. It's to discern. Feel their vibration, not their vocabulary. Are their eyes steady when they speak? Do their words match their energy? Are they showing you change or simply describing it? You see, Sagittarius, love without integrity is only theater. And you, being the seeker of truth, were never meant to play roles in someone else's illusion. The universe trained you to detect authenticity, to hear sincerity not in sound but in silence. That's why you must meet this return with calm authority, not emotional impulsiveness. Your fire burns differently now, controlled, conscious, sovereign. Imagine the scene that's coming. The air feels heavy yet electric, like the pause before a confession. They stand before you, perhaps fumbling with words, trying to explain what cannot be undone. You'll hear phrases like, "I didn't realize, I was scared. You didn't deserve that." And part of you will ache, not from longing but from recognition. Recognition that you once needed those words but no longer do. You will listen, not to heal your wounds, but to witness your evolution. That is your power now. When they say, "Can we try again?" Pause. Let the silence stretch. Because in that pause your soul will speak. It will remind you of nights you cried alone, of the moments you rebuilt your self-worth brick by brick, of the lessons you carved into your heart through fire. The choice you face now isn't between yes or no. It's between old and new, between repeating cycles and writing new chapters, between being chosen and choosing. Sagittarius, you must remember this. Your destiny was never to be pursued. It was to become the one who decides. When you choose yourself first, every connection that aligns with your truth will naturally rise to meet you. That is how divine timing works. It doesn't reward waiting. It rewards awakening. If you choose to listen, let it be from your throne of peace, not your hunger for closure. Ask the questions your past self was too afraid to ask. What have you done to change? What have you learned from losing me? Are you coming with growth or with guilt? Don't fear the answers. Your strength now lies in the ability to hear truth without breaking. And if, as they speak, you sense even a flicker of pretense, of emotional manipulation dressed as remorse, stop the scene. One pause is worth 1,000 explanations. Because your pause realigns the energy. It reaffirms your boundary. If they are real, they will hold their ground and speak from humility. If they are not, they will retreat into defensiveness. Either way you win. Because truth doesn't need to chase validation. But what if, Sagittarius, they truly have changed? What if their awakening wasn't performative but born of honest reflection? Then and only then, open a small window, not a door, and let their actions prove what words cannot. Real transformation doesn't beg to be believed. It quietly demonstrates itself. Watch for consistency, not intensity. Watch for steadiness, not passion. You've already had passion. What you need now is presence. And while this unfolds, anchor yourself with a decree. Whisper it into your morning breath. Write it where sunlight can touch it. I, Sagittarius, choose love that keeps my flame alive. Not love that burns out fast. Not love that dims your light to soothe someone else's shadow. You are fire. You are meant to illuminate, not to shrink. The universe watches you now with quiet admiration. It knows how much you've grown, how long you've waited for this chapter to turn, how many lessons you've integrated. The return you are about to witness isn't random. It's a mirror sent to measure your evolution. Will you revert to who you were, or remain the sovereign being you've become? That is the real test. Not their apology, not their words, but your reaction. Because evolution is not proven in what you say, it's proven in what you no longer tolerate. So Sagittarius, as night falls again and stars stretch across your sky, remember who you are. You are the truth-bringer, the wanderer who cannot be contained, the philosopher who turns heartbreak into wisdom. You are ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, and every challenge you've faced was meant to widen your soul's horizon. Don't let nostalgia shrink it again. When they appear, and they will, let your eyes meet theirs with calm recognition. You have nothing to prove, nothing to chase, nothing to regret. The old story ended the moment you learned to walk away with peace instead of anger. The new story begins when you realize you were never abandoned. You were redirected toward your own fire. And as that fire burns steady tonight, know this. Every truth you have ever spoken, every tear you turned into understanding, every silence you held with dignity, it all led to this exact moment. The return of what once left is not the goal. The goal is to see that you no longer need it to feel whole. You are no longer waiting for their voice to echo yours. You have become the voice. And soon, Sagittarius, the universe will show you just how powerful that is. Part 4. The Test of Fire. Sagittarius, now comes the moment the universe calls the test of fire. This is where words are not enough, where promises are weighed against the quiet strength of your spirit. The air around you is charged with anticipation, and deep down you can already sense it. They are about to act. The conversation that's been circling the edges of fate is moving toward you. Maybe it will start as a message, a single sentence that feels like lightning. Maybe it will come as a call, a request to meet, an unexpected appearance that stops time for a heartbeat. However it arrives, you will know. The energy will feel different this time. Not the confusion of the past, but a spark that tests your balance. They will approach with something resembling humility, perhaps even fear. Their voice might tremble as they speak, not because they are weak, but because for once they are unarmored. You'll see it in their eyes, the mix of regret and wonder, the recognition that the one they thought they understood has evolved beyond reach. They will talk about what they've learned, about the mistakes they made, about how they now realize what your presence truly meant. They will reach for you with words that sound like truth, but the test is not in what they say. It's in what you feel. Sagittarius, your intuition will tell you everything. If your fire brightens, if your chest expands, if peace follows their confession, then maybe the universe is aligning something old into something new. But if tension coils within you, if the words feel rehearsed, if your light flickers instead of glows, that is your soul whispering no. Do not doubt the language of your body. You are an elemental being, guided by instinct and spirit. Your truth doesn't need analysis. It speaks through sensation. You will be tempted to test them, to push gently and see if they truly changed. But fire does not test, it simply reveals. So let them stand before your flame. Let their intentions be illuminated by your calm. If they are real, they will not retreat from the heat of your truth. If they are false, they will burn themselves in pretense. Either way, you lose nothing. Because you, Sagittarius, are no longer seeking safety in others. You are the fire that creates safety within yourself. Now remember your rituals. This is your sacred armor. Before any meeting, before any reply, light a candle. Watch the flame and imagine it burning away confusion, leaving only truth. Pour yourself a cup of tea, feel the warmth in your hands, and let that warmth remind you that love is not meant to hurt. Walk beneath the night sky, look up and whisper the decree. I, Sagittarius, choose love that keeps my flame alive. Say it slowly with reverence, as if every syllable rewrites your destiny. Because it does. When you meet them, whether in daylight or dusk, carry yourself with the serenity of someone who no longer seeks permission to shine. The dynamic has changed. You are no longer the one waiting for validation. You are the mirror of truth reflecting who they've become. They will feel it instantly. That quiet power in your tone, that stillness in your gaze, that unmistakable sovereignty. It will disarm them more than any anger could. They might even say, "You seem different," not realizing that what they're sensing is your healed frequency. If they ask for a new beginning, ask them to describe it in action, not poetry. Don't be swayed by nostalgia. Ask, what does growth look like to you now? How do you plan to protect what we build? These questions are your arrows of truth. They pierce illusions gently but decisively. You are not interrogating them. You are inviting them to meet you at your level. If they hesitate, that hesitation speaks volumes. But if they answer with clarity, with tangible, grounded intentions, then perhaps the fire is ready to transform, not destroy. Because true fire, Sagittarius, doesn't just burn, it purifies. It takes the old and turns it into light. And that's what this chapter is about: purification. Yet, purification demands honesty. Be honest about what you need now. Do not minimize your expectations out of compassion. Compassion without boundaries becomes self-betrayal. You've spent too long pretending that patience equals love. Now you know love without respect is just longing. If they want a place beside you, they must walk as your equal, not your shadow. There will be a moment, brief but sharp, when they try to revisit the past. They may say, "Can't we just go back to how it was?" That's your cue to breathe deeply and remember. The past was what taught you to draw lines in the first place. Look at them gently and say, "I can't go backward. I only build forward." You'll feel a quiet strength rise within you when you say it, because those words come from the soul of a wanderer who has finally found their own firelight. As you speak, notice how the energy shifts. It's not anger, it's power reclaimed. For so long you gave love as a promise of peace. Now you give truth as a promise of alignment. This is what maturity looks like for you. Not closing your heart, but refining your flame. Still, don't deny the tenderness inside you. You are fire, yes, but you are also warmth. If you sense their remorse is real, allow yourself to feel compassion, but keep it balanced with wisdom. You can forgive without reopening old wounds. You can listen without surrendering your peace. And if you do decide to begin anew, let it be from clarity, not nostalgia. Let it be under the light of honesty, not the shadow of habit. And if, after everything, you sense that their return was only meant to teach you one final lesson, thank the universe for the closure and release it. Because in truth, not every connection that returns is meant to stay. Some are messengers disguised as lovers. Some appear to confirm your growth. And once the message is received, the cycle ends naturally. That too is victory, the quiet, dignified kind that doesn't need applause. Tonight, as you lay down, you may feel both calm and restless. The fire of transformation never sleeps easily. But breathe deeply, Sagittarius. You've passed through storms fiercer than this. What's unfolding now is not chaos. It's recalibration. You are aligning with love that reflects your light, not drains it. Repeat this once more before sleep. I, Sagittarius, honor my fire by protecting its peace. Let those words settle in your heart like embers that never die. You've earned this peace. You've built it from ashes. And no one, not even someone returning with apologies, can take it from you unless you allow it. The universe is proud of you. Every test of love you've endured was training for this moment where you no longer confuse intensity with intimacy, where you no longer mistake silence for stability. You know better now. You feel clearer now. And as dawn prepares to rise again, know this: whatever happens next will not be loss or gain. It will be truth. And truth is the one thing that never burns. Because Sagittarius, you are the flame that cannot be extinguished. Part 5. The Sacred Return. Sagittarius, this is the final movement of the story. The quiet aftermath when the fire has burned away all illusion and only truth remains glowing in its ashes. The person who once turned from you now stands in a light they can no longer avoid. Their pride has dissolved into humility, and though they may not say it perfectly, their heart is finally honest. You'll sense it the moment they speak your name. It won't sound like before. No longer an attempt to pull you back into old cycles, but a reverent call to acknowledge what they destroyed and what they now hope to rebuild. The meeting won't feel cinematic. It will feel real, grounded, trembling, human. Their words will falter between apology and confession. I was wrong, they'll say. I thought I was protecting myself, but I was just afraid. And for the first time, you'll see not the image they projected, but the soul beneath the armor. The The same soul that once met yours but wasn't ready to rise to its height. Now they are trying to reach that level, to stand in front of you not as a performer, but as a participant in truth. Sagittarius, do not rush to fill the silence after their confession. Let the air breathe between you. In that silence, universes recalibrate. What you do next will not only define this connection, it will define how your future relationships unfold. Because this isn't just about forgiveness or reunion. It's about embodiment. You've learned how to stay open without surrendering, how to love without losing yourself. Now, the universe is asking you to live that wisdom in real time. When you look at them, look not through the lens of memory but of awareness. Notice what your body tells you. If your heart feels light, it's because alignment is near. If your stomach tightens, it's because your spirit knows there's still work to do. This is how the divine speaks. Not in thunder but through your own instincts. You've become so attuned to that voice that you can no longer pretend not to hear it. That is your greatest strength now. They may speak of change, of realizations, of late-night clarity. They might say, I want to do things right this time. And you with your steady calm will smile gently. Because you know that doing things right is not a promise, it's a practice. If they are sincere, you'll see it not in declarations but in rhythm. Real love doesn't need drama to prove itself. It needs consistency. So, if you decide to give this a chance, build it like a temple, stone by stone, day by day. Let their actions prove their evolution. Let time show you if this fire can warm without burning. And if, while listening, you realize their return was never meant to reignite romance but to close a karmic loop, honor that too. Because closure isn't always tears and endings. Sometimes it's simply peace. Two souls acknowledging the lesson and releasing each other with grace. There is no bitterness in completion when the soul understands purpose. That, Sagittarius, is the sacred kind of ending that doesn't collapse into grief, but expands into freedom. Repeat softly to yourself, I, Sagittarius, no longer dim my fire to be understood. I choose love that expands me. Feel those words in your chest. They are your initiation. You are not the same person who once waited for validation. You've become a sovereign being of light who knows that connection without equality is imprisonment. Your flame burns too pure now to survive in the shadows of compromise. The universe smiles upon you, Archer, because you have passed the final trial, the test of compassion without self-erasure. You can look at this person and see both their humanity and your own strength reflected back. You can forgive without forgetting, love without losing, release without bitterness. That is divine maturity. That is the freedom you were born to embody. They will feel it too. In your presence, their spirit will tremble, not from fear but from recognition. They will sense that your energy is not an open door anymore. It's a sacred gate. Only honesty can cross it. And that's when you'll see the true difference between who they were and who they are. Some will meet your gaze with courage and walk through. Others will lower their eyes and step back, realizing they're not yet ready. Both outcomes are sacred. Both mean liberation. Sagittarius, remember that your journey has always been about expansion. Every heartbreak widened your understanding of love. Every silence taught you the language of intuition. Every loss carved space for wisdom. You are ruled by Jupiter, the planet of truth, faith, and infinite growth. Your life is not about finding someone who completes you. It's about becoming so complete that love, when it arrives, becomes a celebration, not a remedy. The sacred return you experience now is not just theirs. It's yours. You are returning to yourself, to your center, to the fire that never left. You are stepping into a new frequency of love. One that honors your laughter, your curiosity, your freedom, and your boundless heart. You no longer crave intensity for its own sake. You crave peace with depth, passion with respect, connection with truth. And that vibration is what will draw in relationships that match your soul's altitude. So as you stand at this threshold, take one last look back. Not in longing but in gratitude. Everything that once hurt you was a teacher. Every delay was divine timing. Every silence was a sanctuary where you met yourself again. And now, with your head lifted toward the horizon, you can finally walk forward knowing you've become the very light you used to seek. The universe will send you signs, numbers that repeat, songs that seem to speak directly to your soul, sudden bursts of clarity that arrive like shooting stars. They're not coincidences, they're confirmations. Each one says you are aligned, you are free, You are ready. If the person standing before you chooses to rise and meet your light, let them do so without rushing. Let love be a journey, not a rescue. Let it unfold like dawn, slow, radiant, inevitable. And if they cannot rise, bless them and keep walking. Because your destiny doesn't depend on who walks beside you. It depends on how brightly you keep walking. And when night falls, Sagittarius, light one candle and whisper, I release what has served its purpose and welcome love that walks in truth. Watch the flame dance. That flicker is your soul rejoicing. That warmth is the universe confirming that you've come full circle. You've passed the test of silence, the test of longing, and now the test of fire. Ahead lies only expansion, new love, new peace, new creation. You are no longer bound to what once wounded you. You are the healer of your own flame. And as the stars above mirror your fire below, remember this final truth. You were never waiting for anyone to come back. You were waiting to meet yourself at the height of your becoming. Now you're here. Welcome home, Sagittarius. Your sacred return has begun.